Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of the Gargi Arya show. And especially today, we have a very special and inspiring guest with us. I'm sure most of you already know him, and I don't really think that I need to introduce. But since we are doing this, Gargi Arya show, so his name is Mr. Swastik Nandakumar. He's a business growth expert, peak performance coach, and he's on this amazing mission to create the most profitable and powerful entrepreneurs who are recognized by the impact they are going to create in other people's lives. And his signature events include seven figure mentorship, reset, platinum partnership, and so many more. So, thank you so much for being here on the show. I really didn't know that you are going to say yes to me, but when it was a yes, since last few days, I was just looking forward to interacting with you. So it's an honor to be with you.
So nice to be here, Gargi. Thank you so much for inviting me. And for me, more than anything else, I was very thoroughly excited because you are 16, is it? How old are you?
Yes, right now turned 17.
Oh, wow. Because when my team told me that there's a 17-year-old who wants to interview you, my first thought that came into my mind is, okay, what was I doing at 17? And I was thinking if I was doing what Gargi was doing at 17, I think a lot of things would be different. But I was so thrilled. Thank you so much for having me here.
Awesome. So, my first question to you is, what was that triggering point in your life which led you to this path of helping people on this mission?
Actually, more than a triggering point, I think yeah, it's more of a realization when I was finding it very difficult to scale things and do things on my own. There was a point where I started learning a lot of stuff. I started reading a lot of books. I started going to a lot of workshops, attending a lot of seminars. And the one thing that I somewhere realized is this is amazing stuff. I somewhere found it to be a growth hack where I was seeing that these experts are teaching on stage. And if I'm sitting here and listening to them, it means that I've accelerated my journey that much. And then when I was able to apply these things to a few of my, my clients, their growth started accelerating, and as a result, my growth started accelerating. And I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. So this is where I started teaching people. I started teaching people as well, and they experienced the same moments that I experienced, and that's how this journey started. Yeah.
Amazing. And I've seen your interview with Siddharth sir, your Hall of Fame. So congratulations for that also. So
Thank you so
like
much.
my next question to you is, when you started as a coach and a trainer, you yourself might have faced a lot of, challenges. So what were those challenges and how did you deal with them?
I think for me, primarily, the first challenge was the fact that I was not a very good speaker, I would say. That was one of the challenges that I had. And the second challenge, let me perhaps think of the challenges and then I will state how I dealt with them as well. The second challenge is never really had a digital business. So didn't know how to get into the digital world. Had no idea how to set things up, running Facebook ads, setting up platforms, syncing things together, bringing everything together, being how do you navigate the social media world? How do you navigate a lot of small pieces of the puzzle that you need to fit in? And for me, it was always looking I kept getting bombarded with new pieces of the puzzle, but I found it very difficult to fit them in. So that was, I think, another set of challenges that came in. And yeah, I think coming to the solutioning of the speaking part, one thing that I did realize is if I have to be a coach, I have to be somebody who can put my ideas across and they understand it very clearly. So, practicing speaking has been one of the things that I did. And the way I went about doing that was every webinar that I did, I used to replay the recording of it and I used to re listen to it and make notes on what are the mistakes that I could evidently see. Right. So, and the comparison for me was when I used to watch a lot of other speakers being on stage, being on webinar, and a lot of YouTube videos. I would set a standard for myself, saying, okay, these are great speakers, and okay, that's how I need to sound, or that's what I need to get to. So when I had that point of reference, evaluating myself, I was evaluating from that point of reference. So fixing every point, any point that I made, I would relook at it and I would make notes on how my talk could have been improved, what could have been said better, what else could have been said. So I used to make these notes, especially during the gyms. Whenever I was in the gym, I transitioned from listening to music to listening to my own webinars to make notes. So I think that one point made a lot of difference in the way I speak. And the second thing is with respect to practice, I used to do a lot of practice in front of the mirror because earlier I used to get a lot of feedback on my hand movements and gestures and body language, which was not very appropriate. A lot of people used to make fun of it, and then I started watching the videos as well. Earlier, I used to just listen to the audio. Then I started watching the videos and okay, started saying, okay, this is the point where it felt a little obsessive. Felt a little wrong. That felt a little wrong. So started practicing a little more on in front of the mirror. That helped. So I think speaking started getting better and better and better with the whole course of time. That's one thing that I would say. Now, with fitting different pieces of the puzzle, of course, so many of these coaches, so many of the mentors that I've worked with very closely, they helped me a bomb for sure. Uh, it was working with a series of people. Everybody used to solve a different piece of the puzzle. But I think being patient through the process, I'm somebody, or I used to be somebody who's very rushed to get something in my life. And this whole process taught me one thing that, okay, you need to be a little more patient through the whole game. And even now, when I find myself being a little rushed, I remind myself that, okay, it is going to take some time and that's fine. Yeah.
Amazing. So thank you so much for being on this mission because like one of my mentors says that you whenever you realize that you have a gift inside you, it becomes your responsibility to share it with the world. So thank you so much. And one of the things that I learned from your answer right now was self introspection is the key to help you, progress because until and unless you're not going to make mistakes, you will never be able to succeed. So, amazing point. My next question that I wanted to ask you is, a lot of coaches or trainers who start or who are wanting to start, one of the limiting beliefs that they have is, who is going to listen to me? Or there are already so many coaches and trainers. So, what is different in me? So, how can someone actually come over this limiting belief and start their own journey?
So I think that's a fantastic question. And the way I dealt with it and the way I tell people to deal with it is, let's say if if let's say I'm driving from Bangalore to Bangalore to Mumbai, my in the night, my car headlight is going to show me about maybe 100 meters ahead. When I turn the headlight on, it's going to show me about 100 meters ahead. And with that, I have two options. One is to stay in this fear that, okay, I'm only able to see 100 meters and not drive at all. But I don't think that's the case with most people. They are able to see 100 meters and they start driving because as they move, you're a little more is exposed. Let's say you drive 20 meters, you're able to see 20 meters ahead. You don't need to see all the entire path from Bangalore to Mumbai, right? So a lot of people have to get started in understanding that if you're able to see a small path ahead, you need to see that. But now, how does this answer? How can I answer this with respect to their self confidences? Exactly like how they feel, their customers. They a lot of people who are trying to get started, they feel like my customer wants the entire journey, and why would somebody listen to me when there's somebody out there showing them step number 10, but I'm still talking about step number one myself, or I just feel confident about step number one. Here's what they need to understand that your customer who's at step 0 is not looking at step 10 or does not want step 10 or will not understand step 10. And the challenge with a coach who's teaching step 10 is even though he's gone through step 1, he might find it very challenging to remember how he executed step 1. Right. So if you're somebody who's just at step 2 or step 3 at this point, I'm very sure that you know exactly what to do at step 1 or how to get to step 1. And honestly, I feel you are in a better place to help a person at step 0 as opposed to a coach at step 10 because I've seen this with myself. When I'm at step 10 and if I have to get somebody to step 0, from step 0 to step 1, I find it a little difficult to roll back to see what I did back then. And sometimes when I give advice at that step 10 level or step 8 level, the customer sometimes does not relate to it, right? So if you are at step 2 or step 3, honestly, you are a better person to help a person at step 0 than a person at step 10. So I think knowing this will make a lot of difference for you.
I think this is one of the best answers I've received from this question. Like, apart from everyone I've asked, this is the best answer. Like, if
Thank you so much.
someone is as at step 10, then they cannot roll back to step 1 the way someone at step 2 can. So, thank you so much for
Yeah.
mentioning that point. My next question to you is you have such a positive aura and such a powerful energy, and I've been following you since a very long time. My mentor Nikhil sir is also learning from you. So, like, how do you actually maintain this? Like, are you the same person on a daily basis, or are you having any rituals or routines to develop this?
In fact, I'd like to ask you this question. Tell me how, if I may ask you this question, even though it's a podcast where you are asking me, I'd like to ask you a question. Uh, how are you so full of life? And how is it that at the age of 17, you are doing something like this? Because here's one more thing that I noticed. Anything that I say, you're listening to it very attentively and you're able to put those things back to me. And all of these are things that I didn't even comprehend when I was, forget 17. I didn't comprehend this when I was 22, 23, or maybe even 24. So tell me, how does that work?
Yes, so like my story started at the age of 13, so I'm into
Okay.
this since the age of 14. So I was
Wow.
actually in depression during COVID. I lost someone I loved, not because of death, but
Sorry.
because of some clashes in our family. And it impacted me to such an extent that it pushed me to a level where I had that tipping point that I can't accept it anymore. I need to change something in my life. And then I started working on myself. I have written 4 books till now. And
Wow.
like basically, I stepped into life coaching, then transforming people's lives, and then podcasts. So this is how I do.
That is amazing. That is amazing. So I think to answer your question on how do you stay positive, I think honestly it's the people around. Uh, it's not so many rituals per se. Of course, there are a few rituals where I work on my emotions. Anytime I feel a little emotional about something, I have a process to release these emotions, work on these emotions, manage these emotions, so that I can stay in my best possible state. But more than any of that, what really makes a difference in my life and the aura or the energy that I bring in is the people that I surround myself with. And I think now that you are also a part of my life, I think that's it's going to be more interesting.
Thank you so much, sir. Means a lot. So, so this is something which I got from you that our environment plays a huge role in our lives. Like you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely.
great. My next question to you is, a lot of people they struggle in the area of sales and marketing and like personal branding too. It's said that people need to buy you first before they buy your product. So what's your takeaway on, the people who actually struggle in marketing, because then only sales can happen once you have right strategy for marketing yourself. So how do you actually advise on this?
So I think marketing and sales is a hand-in-hand process. So it encapsulates the entire element of selling, right? For you to sell, you need to have customers who are ready to listen to you, and only then can you sell something, and you will have good number of people buying it. That's essentially what is required. So now, coming to marketing, there's so many ways of marketing yourself. You can run ads or you can create content. There's so many ways of doing it. But the only thing that you need to keep in mind is ultimately when I sell, how much can I spend to acquire a customer? For example, if ultimately with working with a person I make 1 lakhs in profits, that's when you can say, you know what, I can maybe spend 20, 30,000 rupees into acquiring a customer, which means, let's say, I spend 30,000 rupees on ads, or I spend 3 lakh rupees on ads, and I get about, let's say, 300 leads. Can I convert one person to pay me 1 lakh rupees? Or can I convert two people to, can I convert five people to pay me 1 lakh rupees because I've spent about 3 lakh rupees, right? Can I convert five people to pay me about 1 lakh rupees? Or can I convert 10 people to pay me about 50,000 rupees? Or can I convert 20 people to pay me about 25,000 rupees? So I think a lot of people don't do the math. What I would say is a lot of your fear comes from the fact that you don't know how much you have to convert in order for the numbers to make sense to you. So I would say first put your numbers on a sheet of paper. You can use Google Sheets. put all this number that you're going to be spending. If I'm spending this much, what can my lead cost be? If my lead cost is this much, and estimate the different scenarios. Don't just estimate the best case scenario, because when we are working on numbers, we want to estimate or come up with the best scenario in which we're like, okay, this is going to work. But honestly, I would say push if the cost were to double, because it can double. And it has since 2019 to today. The cost of acquiring a customer has pretty much doubled, right? If that were to happen, would you still be profitable? If not, as opposed to getting upset that I'm not going to be profitable and running on hopes that I have to bring my costs down, lead costs low, or my marketing costs low, that's the reason most people stop marketing. Ask yourself, how can I increase the value of my product such that people are willing to pay a higher price for it? So do the math, put the numbers in front of you, and that's where your marketing or expenditure on marketing becomes a little more confident. You become a little more confident. And even if you're doing organic marketing, no, you should be able to track how many people are coming to you on a daily basis. Even if you're putting out content, a lot of people could put out content without thinking what is the returns that they're getting from their organic content. You're posting something, start tracking how many leads am I getting every day, how many inquiries am I getting every day, and then the same numbers, put it back. Okay, if I create 30 posts, if I create 30 posts in a month, and every post gives me about 5 leads, can I expect to get those number of leads, right? So once you have these numbers in front of you, marketing becomes more of a logical process as opposed to emotional process. For a lot of people, selling and marketing both is a very emotional process. When they spend money on ads, they're concerned or they get emotional, and that fear kicks in of what if I don't make this money back. Same thing goes with, and a lot of people say that I want to do organic because running ads is a challenge, right? Running ads costs money, because, but you know, creating organic content takes time, and you have to understand, are you getting returns on that or not, right? So as opposed to running through emotions or through your fears, put everything on a sheet of paper. Then marketing and sales becomes a logical thing as opposed to an emotional thing, from your perspective at least. And you don't stop either of them, because a lot of people stop marketing and then their sales comes down, and then that keeps going down and down till the whole system crashes. Yeah.
Awesome. So they both have to go hand in hand, and you have rightly pointed out the correct strategy for everyone to follow. That you need to get your ideas down on paper. Until and unless they are here, then you are going to feel all the emotions and fears and doubts. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
My next question to you is, like, how do you utilize your free time? Like, anything you do?
One is I watch a lot of movies. I love watching movies. You know, I like watching them in the theaters. I don't enjoy watching movies on the computer or the screen for that matter, but I love watching movies in theater. So I go to a lot of movies in theater. That's the first thing that I do. And the second thing is I've been learning to play tennis. So that's another thing that I spend some time on. And the other thing that I want to restart this year in 24 is I want to get back to music, because I was a musician earlier, and it's been about 5 years that I've not even touched the musical instruments at my place. So I'd like to get started on that with making some time this year. Yeah.
Okay, amazing plan. So, like my next question to you is, any 5 or 4 to 5 things on personal branding you would like to tell people who are just starting their brands?
I don't know if I have 4 to 5 things to tell you, but I think I could tell you one thing that has made a lot of difference in my life. Earlier, I used to feel like I have to be somebody else uh, to grow my personal brand, because always my reference used to be, okay, how do I become more like Gary Vee, or how do I become more like Grant Cardone, how do I become more like this person, how do I become more like that person. But one thing that I realized is that is not a sustainable system, where when I try to create content like Gary Vee, I'm like, okay, that I'm not able to do it. One is, sometimes I'm able to do it, sometimes I'm not able to do it, and I was just not able to sustain for a good amount of time. But I think over a span of time, it's just been a game of discovering who you are. Now, if you're like me, where you didn't know what is your personality and you took some time to discover it, then maybe go experiment different things, test your voice, test your style, test your energy, and don't be afraid to put things out, because nobody is judging you, nobody is watching you. More than nobody is judging you, I would say nobody is watching you when you're starting out. That's both good news and bad news for you, because good news, nobody is watching you, because you're going to be bad. When you start, you are going to be bad. Don't expect you to be any good. Because if I go back and check out my old content, I feel embarrassed looking at it myself, right? So but the best part is nobody was watching me back then. Now, so nobody is watching you. Find your style. But if you happen to know your strength, your strength is your confidence. So don't try to be anybody else. The biggest mistake that people are making is they look at the person next to them and they're looking at their strengths and they're comparing their strengths to themselves, and they fall into this trap of fear, right? And that's absolutely crazy. So just look at your strengths, put your strengths out, just your strengths, just keep doubling down on your strengths and putting it out there. And that, the personal name, personal brand itself means it has to be you and not anybody else, right? So it has to be your brand. So your genuine style, your flavor has to be put out, and that's how you have to go about it. Yeah. So be yourself, I think.
Amazing. Yes, like I was just about to say this only, that authenticity is the key that any coach needs to follow to be
Yeah.
authentic and to really make that heart to heart connection with their audience.
Yes,
Amazing.
absolutely.
Yes. So, like, my next question to you is, a lot of people want to start, but they are camera shy or they don't want to face camera. So, but still they want to make an impact. So, how can they actually start having the courage to put themselves out on social media?
So, see, one thing about somebody being shy is a factor of them thinking about themselves. I can say this about myself because the first time I put a story on Instagram, I took about 10 to 15 takes of that one story, looking at this is the perfect shot, this is the perfect shot, no, 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 this is the perfect shot. So once I got it right, I'm like, okay, let me put this. So I put up that story. The minute I put up that story, I don't know what kicked in. I think within a minute I took it down. Within a minute I took it down. I'm like, okay, this is not happening. This is not good enough. And I see a lot of my the people that I coach and work with, they experience the same thing. Well, the one thing that I tell them is when you are shy to put content out there, or when you feel like this is not good enough, you're only thinking about you. And you're anybody, this is the same advice that I give people when they ask me, Swastik, how do I overcome my stage fear? You're thinking about you, and that's the reason the fear is going to kick in, and you're going to think, you're thinking about, okay, how do I look, how does my hair look, how does my shirt look, how does my face look, how does my everything is just about you. How do I the whole thing is about I. And the minute you start focusing on the other person, if you look at another customer, if you look at another person with their pain points, with them actually having a genuine problem, and just go out there with the intention that, you know what, this person has a problem, I want to help this person out. You're thinking about them, and suddenly you're not caught up with yourself. So if you are a coach, you have to be a person who thinks of the person in front of you as opposed to yourself. That's like a primary criteria, I would say. And since that is a habit that you want to build, just go with the thought that you're helping the other person out, and the other person is not really looking at what you're wearing, how you look, how you speak. The other person is just, they have their own challenges, they have their own problems, and they're thinking about their problems, right? And if they realize that you are thinking about their problems too, they're actually going to fall in love with you, and they're not going to care if you stutter, if your English is bad, if your Hindi is bad, if your language is bad. They're just going to be very grateful that you helped them out. So yeah.
Great. So, thank you for mentioning this point because I totally agree with you. Until and unless the spotlight is on only us, then we can never help anyone. But once we turn that spotlight to the people we want to help, then it becomes a little easier than what we actually think. So,
Absolutely.
yes. So, like, my next question to you is, a lot of people they work 24 by 7 and they don't take rest, or they don't know the importance of taking care of their own selves. So what's your advice to them, because even if someone is working 24 by 7 but still they aren't able to get the desired result that they expect, so somewhere it demotivates them.
So I think one thing that the people who work 24/7, the primary mistake that they make is the 24/7 that they work, every hour that they work, they're honestly not working, nor are they taking a rest, taking a break, nor are they watching their movie, nor are they having fun, nor are they going to the gym. They're just, every time they're just caught up in this thought of work without really putting in the work. And I think it's either they say that I'm working 24/7 to impress others, to show people how busy they are, because this is what I used to do, or they're not aware that they're actually not working, but they're just thinking about work. Right. First thing is, thinking about work does not mean you're working. Point one. Point number two is, you working on your business should be more like a sprinting process. What I mean to say is, in a 100-meter race or a 100-meter dash, you run 100 meters with extreme intensity and you stop at the end of 100 meters, right? It's so, what I would say is, on a daily basis, you are on a sprint. On a daily basis, you're on a sprint. On a larger context of business, be patient. You're in a marathon and you need to take it slow. But on a daily basis, you're on a sprint. So that 6 hours that you decide, or 8 hours that you decide, whatever time, sprint for those 8 hours with extreme energy. Because when you actually spend that kind of energy for those 8 hours, your body, every part of your body is going to demand that rest from you, and you are going to be exhausted. And you're when you hit the bed, the minute your head hits the pillow, you need to be out. That's your indication of, okay, I did a good sprint today, right? So I think you need to sprint and you need to take that recovery, and it's very, very essential to recover. But if you're just thinking of work 24/7, you're neither working nor are you resting, but you're thinking that you're working a lot and you're not actually not getting the break that you deserve. And rephrasing breaks as more of like a strategic cool down, as opposed to thinking that, shit, I can't take a break. Because think about it, if you're driving your car without stopping it, your engine is going to overheat. You need to, put in the right coolants. You need to turn it off. You need to keep it calm. And that's exactly what you need to do with yourself too.
Yes, so go on a sprint is something which we all can learn. My next question to you is that, a lot of coaches and trainers, they are not also clear on the topic that they want to help people with, and not only about the topic, but they are also not clear about who they want to help and who they want to serve. So, is it actually in the beginning that everyone needs to understand it, or can someone actually take their time and get into the evolution of this journey and understand, okay, this is my audience, this is my topic?
It's definitely an evolving thing. It's 100% an evolving thing. But to get started, I would say, start with just helping people with a problem that you already solved. Doesn't matter how small it is. Doesn't matter how small it is. Just get started. The first time I put a message out saying I'm doing a course, I put a message saying I'm going to teach people how to get things done for a 500 rupee ticket. And I was very surprised that overnight I got about 10 people paying me. This is on my, I put this one on my Instagram saying, if you want in, send me a screenshot with a payment of 500 rupees to my Instagram. This is what I put in. Very surprised that it actually happened. But at that point, one thing that I had figured out is how to get things done. I was good at structuring my day because I used to do this for my clients. I was very good at putting things in place, calendaring everything, blocking my time. Those are the things that I was good at. So just promise to help people with what you are doing. And if somebody wants that, they are going to pay you. Right. So don't think that only once I have this whole mega transformation thing figured out, that's when I'm going to start. That's the first thing. But eventually, your sign has to be to take a person through a transformation from point A to point B, because that's when they'll pay you good amount of money. When you give them a transformation, that's when they're willing to pay you good amount of money. But to get started, you don't need to think of that transformation. To get started, you just need to think of what is it that you've solved for yourself and your best customer, to figure out who's your best audience. Your audience is the best audience is somebody who's exactly like you, because you solved this for yourself, and your best customer is somebody who's like you, right? So find people who are more like you and solve the problem that you solved for yourself. So that takes care of your what to start with, and that takes care of who should I target.
Amazing. So thank you so much for mentioning this point, because a lot of people get stuck and they are not able to move forward just because they are, having this limitation that I don't know my topic, I don't know my audience. So you rightly solved it. So thank you so much. My next question to you is, what is the definition of leadership for you, and what, according to you, are the qualities that you find in a leader?
The definition of leadership is something that I have just very recently started learning. I would say the definition of a leader is a person who walks the talk. So in my team or in the world outside, let's start with my team. If I'm expecting my team to do something, and if I'm not doing it, or if I've not done it, or if I'm not able to tell them what to do, I'm not being a good leader. I'm perhaps being a boss, right? But if I'm able to tell them, okay, this is what you need to do, this is where you went wrong, this is how you could have done it better. That's me giving actual feedback to them, telling them what can be improved. So if I'm not able to tell them what can be improved, and if I'm just expecting things out of people, that's not leading, that's demanding, right? Leading is where I'm able to show them how they can make a change. And I also am a leader when I'm a proof of concept of what I talk. So this is what extends to your customers as well, or your students for that matter. If you're a coach, you being a proof of concept of what you talk about is you being a leader. So definition of leader is one term, which is integrity, where you say something and you do what you say. That is leadership, is what I would say.
So integrity is what a leadership is what a leader needs to have. Like say what you mean and mean what you say. Great. So
Yeah.
my next question to you is, do you yourself follow like a code of honor, something so that you know your own boundaries and also you are able to let other people know that. So a set of rules to help you lead yourself.
I do quite a few of them. One would be integrity, where I say something and I do what I say. That's point one. The second thing is the second code of honor that I follow is the way I manage my emotions, the way I should feel on a regular basis. And here's the thing: when I say the way I should feel about things, a lot of things that I feel is dictated by the outside world as well, right? As much as I can tell you that, you need to feel good always, a lot of things that I feel is based on what you say. Now, let's say if you say something bad to me, I'm going to feel bad. Or if I say something bad to you, you're going to feel bad. Even though I want to feel good, it's dictated by what you say. But when I say the code of honor is to feel good, what I mean is my ability to manage my emotions. So anytime I feel like I'm in an emotionally lower state, I have a rule that I have to follow certain procedures or certain things that I need to do in order to take my emotions to the state that I feel good at. So that's another rule that I follow. And the third rule that I live by is, if I feel like I cannot help somebody, I don't take money from them. It's it's a blanket rule where if I feel like I cannot help them, or if I feel like it's that's not the right of if my product is not the right fit for them, I don't take money from them. That's another rule that all of these rules get evolved with time. But yeah, these are the few rules that I follow, and I intend to add on to these things as I go.
Yes. So the reason I'm asking this is because I love learning from everyone and love to imbibe it in me also and to all the people who are going to listen to this, because I believe your lifestyle, the kind of life you are going to live, it actually depends on your mindset. The way you train yourself is the way you are going to lead everyone around you. So, like one of
Absolutely.
my next questions that I wanted to ask is, why do you think people struggle with consistency?
Why do I think people struggle with consistency is because anytime you have to do something over and over again, your expectations are not right. So most of the time, the reason people struggle with consistency is because of an expectation mismatch, where people expect quick results or quick wins, but when they don't get the results in the same proportion, they're not able to push themselves. For example, let's say if I go to the gym today, my expectation is that I want to start looking fit in a week, but honestly, that's not going to happen. But where is this? You see people on the internet, everybody said it. Everybody says my 7 day secret routine, my 30-day routine. So you're like, okay, in 7 days, if I have to look like this, I need to look like this on day two, day three itself. But when that doesn't happen, you are like, okay, it doesn't make sense. So expectation mismatch is the primary thing. So when your expectations are not set right, your motivation dips and you're on a dopamine hit on the first time you start doing something. The first day I go to the gym, it actually gives me a dopamine hit. But on the second day, the dopamine hit is not as high because when I look at myself in front of the mirror, I'm like, okay, this is not how I was supposed to look. I was supposed to look slightly different. So the dopamine hit reduces. On the third day, when I go to the gym, I don't get a dopamine hit. And the fourth day, I don't go to the gym because it does not give me that dopamine hit because my expectations were very high. And if it was going to be met, then I would go consistently. So being able to manage your expectations is what leads to consistency. So if you know that, okay, I'm going to have a very small win today, and if your small win was just to go to the gym itself, perhaps the next day and the next day and the day after that, you would continue going. So managing your expectations is what leads to the lack of consistency.
Okay, one more thing which I wanted to ask here is a lot of people are not clear on their why. That why they do what they do, and like most of the people are just going after the crowd, not knowing whether their heart is into the game or not. So how can someone actually find the clarity in their root cause of why they do everything?
The why part, honestly, see, the thing is, this is where a lot of people procrastinate as well, I would say. They feel like I'm not able to find my purpose, and as a result, I need to only do things once I find my purpose or once I find my why. Honestly, when you're starting out, everybody who starts out with any job, very, very few people who say that, you know what, I'm going to do this because I found my purpose from day one. Day one, when anybody starts their job, is with this thought that, okay, I want to become rich. Your why is, okay, I want to become rich, that's why, right? And honestly, that is moving to you. For example, I you've been doing this for the last 3 years, but honestly, I started working only at the age of 20. And at the age of 20, my why was very clear. I want to make some money, and I did that. My why was very, very, very clear. So I would say that the internet has promoted the fact that you need to have a crazy why today, and only once you find that why will you be able to go ahead. What I would say is do the work, even if it means just for the fact that you want money. You want money for yourself, right? So that should be your why. Go ahead and do it. And as you evolve, you are going to find a bigger and a better why, and that will keep evolving with time. So don't wait for the why. Just go out there and do the work. Yeah.
Agree with you. So thank you so much for mentioning this point. And apart from all the messages and the golden nuggets that you have shared, any last message that you would like to tell us?
The only message that I'd like to tell people is be more like Gargi. Uh, and I mean it. I mean it. What I am essentially trying to tell them is, it's crazy how you have defeated all odds and started this at the age of 14. And a lot of people would be feeling that, Gargi is young and that's why she would do it. But I remember my 14. I I used to be so insecure. And I have no clue how you're doing this. I have no clue how you're doing this because you defeated all odds and you are, sending messages to people knowing fully well that you can get a no. And for me, when I was 14, when I was 15, rejection used to be the biggest fear of my life. And the sad part is a lot of people have that fear when they are in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, even at their 50s. The rejection is the biggest fear. And you've gone past that, and that's exactly what people need to do. If you're going out there to sell, you need to know that rejection is the game. People are going to reject you, not because you are a bad person. It's just that they don't understand the product, or they don't need the product, or they're in a different life situation themselves. So when they reject you, they're not rejecting you to be a bad person. That's what a lot of people take it on face value. But what you've done is phenomenal, and I really applaud you for what you're doing, and it's amazing. So be more like Gargi. That's the message that I have for people.
Thank you so much, sir. Means a lot. So, like, if anybody wants to connect with you and join you into your program, so what's the steps they need to follow?
Just stay connected on my Instagram, and some new story will pop up someplace where it'll say swipe up, or click on the link to join my webinar, and that's how they can stay connected. So I think get connected with me on my Instagram and Swastik Nandakumar, and yeah, that's where they could start.
Okay, so now everybody, your turn is to first share all your key takeaways in the comment section, whatever you learned, because there is so much to learn from you. And the next thing that you need to do is all the links are there in the description below. Do follow him on Instagram. This was not just a trailer. Like, I would not even call it a trailer of what actually you do, because there's a full movie and theater that you are creating of your own. So just do these two steps. And the last thing I would like to tell you, which is something I always tell at the end of my show, is knowing plus not implementing equals to not knowing. So even if you listened and if you didn't act upon it, then you just wasted your time. So even if you are taking one breakthrough, make sure to implement it. And thank you so much, Swastik sir. It was complete honor, like being with you and sharing this show with you. So thank you so much for saying yes.
Thank you so much for doing this. It is amazing that you do it, and I wish you all the success. I wish you all the joy, and continue to do this. Continue inspiring more people. I can only imagine what you will be doing in your 25, 30, 40, 50. I think you're going to be a phenomenal human being, and I'm so glad that you are crafting this person, this human being that you are. And I'm so proud of you. And I think one personal takeaway for me is in the future when I encounter a problem, I want to keep this in my mind and ask myself, okay, what would Gargi do in this situation?
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone.